Augustone chapter 23. I don't feel like going to school today, Gina complained one morning. Just the same old boring classes. I think I even know more than the teachers now. She had been practicing this complaint for days. She was trying to create a situation that they both wanted. Matthew turned to her, his eyes momentarily off the road, his Adam's apple moving up and down his neck. He turned back, his hands holding the steering wheel tighter than usual. Do you want to see where I live then? It's not far, just up there in Beverly Hills. Blanche will be there, the housekeeper. But she's cool. It will be all right. Gina nodded. The blue Honda went past Mona High and continued down Mona Road. It was the first time that Gina had taken the turn off that went up into the affluent neighborhood. The first time she would find herself at the Garrick's house, not knowing then that she would return years later. I want to show you something first, Matthew said as they got out of the car. He took her round to the back of the house, and they looked at the city spread out below them. He intertwined his fingers with hers. Beautiful, isn't it? Gina had never seen Kingston from above like this, and suddenly she wasn't sure that she liked heights. It was making her nauseous. She closed her eyes in order to steady herself. Matthew took her silence as a sort of childishness. Lord man, Gina, you're just trying to be contrary. Just appreciate the view for what it is. Gina opened her eyes again and took a breath. She wrestled her hand out of his and pointed towards Papine. Mataf's house is somewhere down there? Matthew took her hand again and rotated her whole body about 30 degrees. No, it would be somewhere there, down there in Augustone. You just have to look for the white crater in the hillside. Do you see? Amazing, don't you think? So people like me live our whole lives down there, and people like you can just stay up here and watch, like gods. Matthew let go of her hand. He was hurt, and Gina had in fact meant to hurt him. She wasn't sure why. Like gods? That's the kind of thing that my mum would say, actually, Matthew said after a moment, as if reasoning with himself, trying to make sense of her rudeness. She would like you, you know, my mom. I think you would like her too. Gina smiled, her mood lightening. So now you want me to meet the parents? As long as you introduce me to your Ma Taffy. Gina laughed. I don't think so. Ma Taffy wouldn't like you. Why not? Gina looked Matthew up and down, thinking many thoughts but saying none of them. Because I'm white, Matthew pressed. Something like that. It's 'cause you are what she calls Babylon. Backside? So your auntie thinks I'm a whole Byzantine city? You're part of it. I'm part of Babylon. You're part of the system. And what does that even mean? It means that people like you look down on people like Matt Taffy, or people like me. You look down on the way we talk, the kind of clothes we wear, on everything. We're too butu, or too crawfish, or bugu yaga, or we don't have no class. It's all a big joke. That is the system. That is Babylon. I don't look down on you, he protested, or the way you talk, or anything. Yes, but that's only 'cause I know how to change the way I talk when I'm talking to uptown people like you. If you did hear me speaking to somebody in Augustone, then I would sound different. And you would look on me different, even though it was still me, and inside I was the same person. You would look on me different. You can't tell me that's not true. It's just the way I was raised. I know, it's the system. That's just how things set. Well, what am I supposed to do about it, Gina? Say sorry? Find every striking person on this island that have less money than my family does, and say sorry to them? I'm so sorry that I'm white. I'm so sorry that my father makes a fuckload of money. I'm so sorry that I speak good English. Would that help? Sorry wouldn't change anything, but it's good to know these things. Well, if it's any consolation, my mom would definitely like you. But Daddy, I don't think so. Gina laughed again. Because I'm black? Sometimes it frightened Matthew that there was such a strange and brutal and beautiful honesty between them. He had flirted with girls before, but always there was, in that flirtation, an element of flattery and deception. It was never so with Gina, and it was this honesty between them that made Matthew decide, as teenagers do, that he was more than just infatuated. No, not because you're black, because you're from down there. And he jutted his lips out, pointing them towards Augustown. But that's where your mother works. And they fight about it all the time. Daddy keeps on saying she could do better. He's an ass, but he's my dad. That don't stop him being an ass. They went into the house after that, into Matthew's bedroom. Gina ran a finger along a shelf that boasted several water polo and swimming trophies, as if everything today wanted to remind her that she was not from this world. They sat on the edge of his bed. Matthew offered to help her study, and there was in fact a bit of that. He quizzed her on the periodic table. H. Hydrogen. Au. Gold. T. Titanium. She described perfectly how to perform titration, and then Matthew leaned in to kiss her. She kissed him back. Matafe's voice came into her head suddenly. To make a fool kiss you is one thing, but to make a kiss fool you is an even worse thing. But this boy's no fool, she said to the voice, trying to silence it. Sometimes he's a little naive, sure, but he's no fool. They continued kissing for a long time. The second time she was at his house, it went further than kissing, and this thing went on for months. Sometimes, when he was inside her, Gina felt again that Matafe was standing right above them, her sightless eyes staring. To make a fool fuck you is one thing, but to make a fuck fool you is even a worse a thing. Don't make no man turn you into no fool. June came like a sadness, and Matthew was packing his bags to go off to Boston. Mommy and Daddy want me to go up early so I can settle in, get to know the place. It's not that I want to leave so soon. He ran a finger from her earlobe to her chin, then gently lifted her face so their eyes could meet. It was a gesture he had seen in a movie, but he did it gracefully, as if to add a sort of pathos to his leaving. You don't have to explain, Gina said, as if she too were playing a role, as if to be pragmatic and mature, although she was grateful for the explanation. In fact, for months she would replay these words in her head, this gesture. She would run her own finger along the curve of her face, imagining it was his. Gina loved Matthew in the way that teenage girls love their first loves, which is to say, with extravagance. Whenever she saw him, she felt a beautiful hollow in her chest, opening up as if it would swallow her whole being. And then she passed anyone on the street who looked anything like him, she would miss a step. But she also loved him with restraint, a restraint that was not quite hers nor his, nor could it be defined exactly, though if one had to, it was perhaps the restraint of an entire island. They had met, this is true, and yet their meeting, regardless of the fact of it, was improbable. There was no context in which a girl who lived in Augustown and who went to Mona High could meet a boy who lived in Beverly Hills and who went to Campion. It required too many anomalies to coexist at once. The boy would have to have a mother who worked in Augustown, and the boy would have to be in his gap year, and it would have to start with an act of kindness, and there had to be something like a daily car ride, and there had to be something in the boy that would be attractive to the girl, and something in the girl that would be attractive to the boy, and they would each have to be curious and open, and so many other things. Gina and Matthew had met, but there was no further context in which they could continue to meet, except the secret context they created for themselves. There was no plaza, no shop, no school barbecue, no park, no church, nothing. Love requires context, and they had none. This leaving, then, was probably for the best. Gina thought briefly about telling him about her missed periods, but decided against it. It would transform her in his eyes. She was sure of it. She would no longer be the girl from Augusttown, the bright girl from the ghetto who defied all of his expectations. Instead, she would be the girl from Augusttown who confirmed them, the ghetto girl who had tried to tie down a nice uptown boy with her belly, who had tried to rob him of his rightful future. And besides, she said to herself, she wasn't going to keep it. So what good would telling him do? On the day before he left, Matthew held her hand. "Gina," he said, "next year you should apply. I know it might sound like an impossible thing, but you would get in. Harvard would give you a scholarship. You're bright enough." She said nothing. It did sound like an impossible thing. She wanted to rise out of Augusttown, but she had never dreamed of rising that high. Her dreams weren't as big as uptown dreams. No, she wouldn't apply. She knew that. There would be too many details to figure out, too many hoops to jump through, too many questions to ask, and not a single soul in all her world who she could ask these questions or who could point her in the right direction. And also, she thought, this was just his sweet way of saying goodbye without saying goodbye, holding out the promise that they would see each other again. It was probably his way of saying that he would miss her, when probably what she really needed was to learn how to forget him. "So, you'll apply?" he pressed. "It doesn't even have to be Harvard. Any school in Boston, really. There's lots of them. MIT, Tufts, Boston's College. You'll get in. Trust me." "I never even been on a plane before," she protested. "Not yet," Matthew said. "But one day you're going to fly." Chapter 24. The wind had stopped blowing. No longer can the principal or her helper hear the strains of song coming up from Augusttown. The G's and C's carried on the end of the breeze like pollen. They have returned to sitting, and while Mrs. G lowers herself onto the bench, she sighs. She has wanted so much to tell Miss G her own news, how she and Mr. Garrick have decided that they will no longer be needing her services, and that she, Miss G, is now to focus completely on school. What is more, Mr. Garrick has agreed to fund Miss G the whole way through. His wife has strong-armed him into this position, of course. "Think about it, Timothy," she had said. "Look how many companies are giving out scholarships to young people. And then when they graduate, that people is contracted to work for them. Isn't that how it works in your world? Being a good corporate citizen and all that? It's not a handout. It's an investment." "It's not that simple," he had said, though it was. He just didn't like his wife meddling in his world, dictating business decisions. "Well, I've told you, Timothy. We are going to help this girl out. We are. So either we do it using your own money, or you get your company to do it. And," she looked at him directly, "you owe me." Mr. Garrick swallowed hard at these words, at the accusation. His wife hardly ever brought it up, but there it was. And this was marriage after all, a give and take. He had made her give up teaching, the thing that had given her the greatest sense of worth, and he had done it for the sake of his own worth, his own sense of pride. Well, now she was calling in the favor, and he realized for the first time that Claudia needed this. She probably needed it more than the helper. This sense that she had helped someone to transform their life. In the 3 years that Miss G had worked in their house, Mr. Garrick had not grown fond of the woman. And it wasn't just her natty hair, which he frankly found disgraceful and tried not to sneer at. Someone had once told him that these Rastafarian, or Bubba Dreads, or whatever they wanted to call themselves, didn't even wash or shampoo, and that many of them had insects living in their great clumps of hair. It made him squeamish, and all the more incredulous that Claudia should have hired such a woman to keep their house tidy. He would have protested, but there was no talking to Claudia in matters such as this. "Timothy," she would have said, had he dared, "I have lived with all your faults, your stupid pride, and even the women on the side. Don't think for a moment I have not known about them. I have lived with all of it. But I am not a snob, and I will not stand for your snobbery." With each word, her volume would have risen, and Mr. Garrick would have feared that the neighbors might overhear the altercation, which in turn would hurt his pride even more deeply. So he had left it alone. But it was also the damned haughtiness of this helper, a quality he couldn't quite put his finger on. It was the way she walked this high-assed walk, but with a kind of prudishness, as if no man was supposed to try and check her out. And it was the way she had taken down every blasted book off his shelves. His books! Books he hadn't read himself, and probably never would read, and had read them from cover to cover, when she should have waited her turn. And it was the way he observed her observing things. This damn woman who couldn't afford one thing in their house, not one thing, and yet she looked at the rugs, the paintings, the walls, everything, as if she was assessing it, and sometimes didn't quite approve. Oh, how it rankled with him. The fact that she was doing so well under Claudia's tutelage only confirmed what he disliked about her. He would never say such a thing out loud, not to anyone. Yet it seemed to him that here was a young woman who did not know her place. But what to do? They had gone so far down this road, and he could see no way to get himself out of it now. "All right, I will talk to the fellows at the office, see if we can do something," he had said to his wife. And to give Timothy Garrick his due, he did say something to his finance director the next morning, though he also tried to sabotage the plans by being absolutely honest about the whole thing. "This is just the helper, Jimmy. Claudia has a thing for her and is trying to help her out. You see what I mean? Don't get me wrong. She's quite bright, this girl. But at the end of the day, she's just the helper, goddammit. Anyway, I thought I'd put it out there because, well, I promised Claudia I'd see what I could do. But I told her these things are difficult at the best of times, so don't put yourself under any pressure." But the finance director had not properly understood Mr. Garrick. He dutifully said something to the HR manager and impressed upon her that this request was coming from the big boss himself. The HR manager in turn said something to the PR manager. The PR manager was a woman whose enthusiasm for just about everything grated on Mr. Garrick, but who was so good at her job that he was forced to tolerate her. She came back to Mr. Garrick beaming. "What a story, Mr. Garrick," she enthused. "What an incredible story. It's gold. Absolute gold. We're going to get so much mileage out of this. I promise you." Mr. Garrick felt his heart go flat. "Can you imagine?" the PR manager continued, and spread her arms as if to present the future in headlines. "Front page material. Helper from August down Aces A levels. Oh, that's good. And with help from your wife, no less. Is that what they're telling me? That your wife was the one who taught her? That's really good. Helper gets into UE, and then, helper from Augustown, first recipient of Garrick Foundation Scholarship? That's what we should call it. What do you think, Mr. Garrick? It has a ring to it, no?" Mr. Garrick frowned. "The company is Garrick Enterprises," he said grumpily. "We don't have a foundation." "Minor matters, sir, minor. We can even start a foundation now. Easy peasy. But Garrick Enterprises scholarship? No, that's not warm enough for what we want. You see what I mean? He tried another tactic. Yes, but if we give this too much press, aren't you worried people will find out the whole thing? Well, a bit nepotistic. Oh no, sir. Not in a bad way, I mean. This young woman isn't family to you. You have no connection to her. She's just a helper. A diamond in the rough that you managed to find. And besides, she will be just the first. This is a real opportunity for us, Mr. Garrick. We should give a scholarship every year or every 2 years to some other disadvantaged youth or other. You see what I mean? I see. Oh, Mr. Garrick, it will be the story of the year for us. Amazing! So this is the news that Mrs. G wants to share with Miss G. If this university letter confirms what they both know it will confirm, then things are about to change for the helper. The PR manager has been working overtime, and already the Gleaner wants an interview. But that news will have to wait. Miss G is determined to open the letter not in Beverly Hills, but in Augustown, in the presence of Matt Taffy and Kaya. Though disappointed, Mrs. G understands this reasoning. All right, Miss G, she says finally, standing up and patting her pockets to feel for her car keys. Let me at least give you a ride down to the hill so you can get home a little quicker. Thank you, Mrs. G. I would appreciate that. End of chapter 24.